I love it. But mostly go and support the Arizona Desert Bighorn Sheep Society. Um, somebody wants to know what's my total arrow weight and broadhead. I have a 29-inch draw length. My total arrow weight is just about, I always 500, 502, 503. And from that, I shoot full metal jackets, and I have 125 grain bone broadhead on there. So what's the prediction on the elk season this year? Here's one. Are you having Matt Ranella on the show anytime soon, or are you going on his show? You should email Matt. I was on his podcast for a couple hours here 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I haven't seen it up yet, but it'll be interesting. I'm happy to go and talk to anyone about anything. So, what's my opinion on New Mexico wanting to take away non-resident sheep opportunities? New Mexico residents are going to decide what's best for them. And as non-residents, we get to hunt as a non-resident at the mercy of whatever the residents want to give us. So, whatever they do is what they're going to do. So, I'll deal with it and figure it out, whatever they come up with. So I'm going to see if I can get YouTube going, folks. So bear with me here. No, that doesn't look like YouTube. That looks like something else. How do I get to YouTube? There we go. Hello. Oh, look at that. What a country. We got this figured out. Limited. YouTube's already given me an ad. They want to sell me YouTube TV for $30. Dismiss. I'm not going to buy YouTube TV for $30. I got my own YouTube gig going on here. So anyhow, someone says, "Hey Randy, I'm going to be in Bozeman on Friday. You going to be at Dairy Queen?" I might. Never know. But all right, here's one. Randy, say you drew a South Central Wyoming elk tag. There's one guzzler in the hunt area. How much importance would you place on that guzzler in late October to mid-December? Not that much. It's a cooler period of the year. There's probably some snow on the ground. There's going to be a lot of different places for them to get water. I wouldn't discount it. I wouldn't forget about it. But I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't build my hunting tactic around it. Let's put it that way. Randy, how do you take care of your diaphragm calls so that they last the longest possible? First, I dry them out when I pull them out of my mouth, and I don't put them in the sun. I have these Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls has these little black, they're like a little purse. I dry them out and I put them in there, and I wear them out though, because I drive around. You'll see me driving around Bozeman with my window down. People probably think, what is wrong with this guy? But oh well. So Eric asked, the Wyoming General Unit season for my tag starts September 27th. Would you be there opening day to catch some rut action, or would you come a week or two later for postseason and less pressure? I'd be there on opening day. So, oh gosh, this one is one I brought up that created a little bit of a stir last week. This is Wyoming's Outfitting Association trying to take half of the non-resident tags. Ashton says, as a non-resident with 0 elk points for Wyoming, if Wyoming does go to the 90-10 split, right now they're at 84% and 16% to non-residents. If they go to 90-10 and outfitters get half of the non-resident tags, is it worth buying points in Wyoming? That's a really good question. I don't know. I think some people are going to make that assessment and try to figure out, am I wasting my time here? What's going on? So, but anyhow, now that we got Instagram going and we got YouTube going, want to thank everybody for being here. We just got done with an hour of exclusive Q&A with our Fresh Tracks Plus audience. So we do an hour with them, and then we jump onto this to give another hour or so to the rest of the world. And this is our first time. So I'm kind of making an apology in advance if something goes wrong. This is the first time that they have let me be in this studio all by myself, running this from my computer. Well, recording it from my computer. Matthew is somewhere in the hinterlands running this remote software that does the production. Jace is somewhere else copying a lot of your questions and putting them into this document. So if I mess it up, sorry. But anyhow, Elk Talk Live, this is episode number 113. Can you believe we've been doing them that long? And that's even after taking some time off during the whole COVID fiasco. But Elk Talk Live is now brought to you by two of our partners. Outdoor Class, you saw us launch that this week, or well, a week ago. And that's me, Corey Jacobson, Remy Warren, Jamie Teagan. We have all these courses out there, these classes. And if you sign up and use promo code Randy, they're going to give you 20% off. And then we have the Go Hunt Explorer, which is Go Hunt's entire map suite. We're talking desktop maps on your phone, the mobile maps, terrain analysis tool, everything that you could think of. If you go there and go to gohunt.com and you sign up for Explorer and use promo code Randy, they'll give you $20 off. So don't pay retail, right? That's what I always say. Don't pay retail. And our promo code hopefully gives us the chance to do that. Someone asked a question on Instagram, hey, what about a Southeast Alaska blacktail hunt? We've done two of those. They're out on our YouTube channel. Both of them were with my buddy Jim Bagetail. Super, super good guy. And then let's see, what other one? Brian asks, what's my best option to hunt elk in the next 2 to 3 years? Yes, I've seen all your videos. I'm talking due to the current tag reductions. Well, 2 to 3 years, every year apply in New Mexico if your budget allows you, because there's no tag, there's no point system there. Apply in Wyoming because 25% of the tags go randomly. And in Montana, 2 to 3 points should get you a tag by the third year. Last year, 3 points was 100% draw odds. And even 0 points this year were pretty good draw odds. And then if all else fails, as long as they keep having it, you could look at the Colorado over-the-counter archery, over-the-counter second rifle, over-the-counter third rifle. There's about 90 units plus or minus that allow over-the-counter elk hunting during those 3 season periods. So, Jeffrey asked this question. It was one we just had on the Fresh Tracks Plus feed. Randy, what type of physical training do you do or do you suggest prior to hunting season? Being from the Midwest, the elevations are certainly a concern. Yeah, there's really no way to make up for elevation, oxygen deprivation. But if I lived in the Midwest, like I did for a long time, I would find the steepest stuff, usually along rivers and creeks, right? You got some elevation or at least some incline, maybe not altitude and elevation, but incline. And I would it might get boring, but that's what I would be doing. There is nothing that I know of in the Midwest that is going to equate to off-roading, if you want to call it that, going off trail, hiking, bending over, stepping over deadfall, doing it. I'd do some side hilling. I'd do some straight uphill. I'd do downhill. I would do as much of that as I can. And I wouldn't necessarily do it based on miles. I do it based on hours. In other words, I'd want my heart rate to be up there at least 45 minutes. I try to do at least an hour and a half for my hikes. Whether that takes me 3 miles or 5 miles, That's what I try to do. I want my heart rate up for that period of time. Now, some days I'll load up my pack with a lot of weight because I want to end up with core strength that allows me to, be bending over and doing all the things with every day. When I'm at elk hunting, I got about a 25 or 30 pound pack just because of all the gear we bring, all the production gear, everything else. So some days I'm going to be loaded up to try to build core strength. Some days I'm going to lighten that up and I'm just going to be smoking along, man. I am really hustling because I want that cardio. So mix it up, do as much of it as you have time to do, and try to find some incline. So Jay says, hey Randy, I got 3 separate trips out west this year. I have a pronghorn hunt, a mule deer trip in New Mexico, and an elk trip in Utah. I live in Louisiana. How bad do you think gas prices are going to hurt my bank account this year? A lot. My wife tells me I might have to take a break from hunting next year. I'd strike a deal there. But no, I mean, that's just, there's no one I know of who's immune to those costs. So accept it for what it is and, have a budget that goes accordingly. So let's see. What was this one? Am I going to do any corner hopping now? No, I'm not going to yet. I'm waiting to see what the outcome is. I get why people do, and I'm not going to discourage anyone from doing it. But, as someone who does what I do, I got to make sure I'm 100% dialed. I would never want to do anything that is going to be, considered trespass. Some say it is, and now we're finding out in the Wyoming court, corner crossing may not be, but I'm going to be super, super careful. I have that much appreciation for private property rights that I'm going to default on the side of caution. So Talon says, hey, Randy, I bought a Mystery Ranch Metcalf backpack last week, and I'm going to go test it out on a 4-day high country fishing trip. Can't wait to see how it does. I suspect, Talon, you will find that it works great. Hopefully, wherever you bought it, that retailer knows how to adjust it for your torso length. That's one of the beauties of the Metcalf packs, is they're fully adjustable for your torso length. So if they didn't adjust you for it, go out to the Mystery Ranch website. There's a bunch of videos about how to make sure that's adjusted for your torso length. Now, I like mine just a little bit longer or taller than they recommend. So if you see mine and you see a little bit of gap on my shoulder pads, it's because of my own personal preference. But they're going to have really good information on that. And to get the best performance out of that pack, make sure that you adjust it properly. Aaron asks, hey, Randy, what's the best canvas hunting tent out there? Well, first, I would go to Wilderness Ridge Trail Llamas, depending on how big a tent you want. Our buddy Bo Beatty has worked with a company, and he's come up with his own wall tent. It's amazing. We used them a lot last year. And if that's not the size that fits you, go to Davis Tent down in Denver. And they, in my opinion, they're really, really good. So, holy cow, do we have a lot of questions. I'm sorry, folks. I'm not going to be able to keep up with all these. Scott asks, any Nevada hunts planned this year? Not yet. They have that first come, first serve list that comes out in usually August and September. Maybe we can pluck a tag off there. Have I ever drawn elk there previously? Yes, I have. 2005, I drew elk south of Ely. Shot a nice bull. Eric asks, I'm very curious on what the hunting pressure is going to be like this year due to the gas prices. I think a lot of people are wondering that. That could be quite the challenge for everybody. Joseph asks, why does Washington State not get the attention of Montana, Colorado, Idaho, Arizona, etc. for Western big game hunting? Well, for a lot of reasons. One is it's quite a bit more expensive. It's more crowded. Your season dates aren't that great. And for non-residents, most non-residents are traveling somewhere that would force them to go through high quality elk and mule deer country like Colorado, like Idaho, like Montana or Wyoming. So would you tell the person from Texas to drive through Colorado, drive through Wyoming, drive through Idaho to get to Washington? Nah. Why would they drive through all that really good hunting? So there's a lot of reasons why, and it just kind of the way it works out. Let's see. Andrew says, I've started to read research papers on areas I hunt, but many of them are pretty old. I'm seeing some from the 60s and 70s. Yep, I read those same ones on a lot of places. Are these still reliable, or should I look for something more current? Well, there's parts of it that'll be reliable and some aren't. Like when they talk about roads, well, a lot of the places in the 60s and 70s didn't have roads and trails where we are now. When it talks about forage, the odds are it's probably relevant. So it just depends. I read them anyhow because I just want to know that information. And so what else am I going to do? I could watch TV, watch Oprah reruns or something. Ain't doing that. Have I ever hunted the Pine Ridge unit in Nebraska for deer? I've never hunted Nebraska, so I'm of no value there, but I did see today that Nebraska is cutting non-resident tags and even cutting some of their over-the-counter tags, I believe, for the muzzleloader season for resident. So, no, I've never hunted Nebraska. So, Joshua says, Randy, have you noticed a serious increase in the amount of hunters in Montana recently? I haven't really. I've noticed a few. I think about last year, I hunted my mountain goat in a spot that gets a ton of elk hunting pressure. We would see 2 or 3 rigs at the trailhead. Where I archery elk hunted in the breaks as a limited entry draw, I saw more people there than I did in some of my general units. Now, I talked to friends who are like, I'm never coming back here. So what we have seen, Montana says we cap non-residents at 17,000 tags, but that doesn't include doe tags. That doesn't include the B elk tags. So the majority, or a large number anyhow, of our antlerless tags for deer and elk are being sold to non-residents. So if you see more non-residents at the trailhead, they're usually hunting cows or does. But here's the other part. When I moved to Montana, we had 860,000 people in this state. 31 years later, we have 1.15 million people in this state. So we got an extra 300,000 people in this state in the time I've lived here. So yeah, I have seen a lot more crowding. Where I do see more crowding is this time of year. It's absolutely crazy how many people are at these trailheads in the summer, or how many mountain bikers I see, and how many, it's like, whew, wow. So Bella Carlstrom is either from Deer River or Grand Rapids, Minnesota. And Bella, you say, Randy, I'm besties with your niece, Callie. Well, I was just back at Callie's graduation. So Bella, nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Let's see. Another person, Old Pappy, says, Randy, have you and your crew seen a significant increase in the amount of hunters in Montana the last 2 years? I have some, but it's not been what I'd call significant. Numbers got me to the point like I'm not going here anymore. And most of them have been resident hunters. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the whole COVID effect, right? People had a lot of time on their hands. The government was printing a lot of money, sending a lot of checks, and people were interested in being self-sufficient. We know there was a big spike in hunting in 2020. It came down a little bit in 2021. Is it really going to come down significantly? I saw the report of how many non-residents applied in Montana this year, and it was down more than significantly. It's down more than double digits. So I really don't know. I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you. Landon says, "Oh, Montana's full of grizzly bears. Just stay away. Problem solved." Everybody's got that, right? The Idaho guys are the worst. Nothing to see here. Just move along. Nothing in Idaho. Move along. We all know that when somebody says that, they got a really good place to hunt. So Laverne from Ohio says, I just got drawn for a bull elk muzzleloader tag in Colorado. This is my first elk hunt. Any tips? Yes, be aggressive. You are hunting in the peak of the rut. Go to where you hear them. Be aggressive, call, move, be mobile. During September, the elk aren't in little pockets. They're not like whitetails where they're just moving 300 yards from a bedding area to a feeding area. They're putting on 12, 15 miles a day, moving around the landscape, trying to find cows. Move and call. Move, move, move. When you hear calls, go at them. So, let's see. The single best tip you have for hunting lone bulls in the dark timber. Well, I try not to do that in rifle season. So I don't know that I have a tip in rifle season. I avoid those places because there are elk in there, but the densities are so low that it's tough hunting. So I try to go someplace else. Now in archery, I'd go hunt the edges of where those dark timber places are, knowing that the cows are going to be out feeding. And where are they going to feed? Not in that dark timber, but they're going to feed on the edges. So I'd hunt the edge areas of that. So Larry asked, do you ever hunt in California? I have not, and I probably don't see myself doing that. Not anything against California. It's just the cost, the opportunity, and then the opportunity and cost relative to other places I could go hunt. Evan asks, is a 257 Weather be good for elk? Yeah, with high quality bullets, I'd have no hesitation shooting an elk with a 257 Weatherby. So Kai says, excited to see Randy back in Wyoming. I drew November any elk and deer tags, my 26th year of trying to get my first bull. What part of November would be the best to hunt? I always say whatever day, because some of yours end in Wyoming, they end November 20th. I go to the last 5 or 7 days of season. However, if I had 10 days to hunt, I'd go to the last 10 days of season because weather is going to move them to the places they're more visible. They're in larger bachelor groups instead of just solo. And most hunters by then, they got it out of their system. So the hunting pressure is going to be less. So Xavier says, you ever hunt the Missouri River breaks? Yeah, hunted it last year. I've hunted it a lot of times. And if there's a place that's getting crowded, I see the breaks way more crowded than what it used to be when I hunted out there. So, Randy, what trekking poles do you use? I use Peaks trekking poles. Is what I used last year. In the past, I've used Lecky, but I think Bryce and the guys at Peaks have some new stuff lined up for me, so I'll probably be using those again this year. Christopher says, Randy, how many Montana sheep points do you have? Maximum. Have you ever thought about doing the unlimited units in Montana? It enters my mind, but I'm not going to because then I'd burn all my points for a tag that's guaranteed. Not going to do that. Do I think there will ever be grizzly bear tags to hunt in Montana? No, I don't think so. And I'm doing a podcast next week with Chris Servine. Chris was the biologist in charge of the entire grizzly bear management program in the Northern Rockies for 35 years, and he studied stuff even before that. I sat on the governor's grizzly bear roundtable. Just knowing what I know of what the criteria is, we have so much human caused mortality already from having to shoot nuisance bears, self-defense. They're getting run over by vehicles, shooting bears in garbage cans. There's a limit to what's the allowed human caused mortality. So every time we have these other forms of human caused mortality, that takes up whatever little capacity might be there for hunting. So seeing the big increase in human caused mortality from other things, I struggle to see when we're going to have grizzly bear hunting in Montana, but I could be wrong. So, and then Tim, where's this one? So Tim is reminding me, and if any of you are going to the Total Archery Challenge up in Big Sky, Montana, there's going to be a shoot for the flood relief. Last week, Montana, just over here in Livingston, Columbus, Red Lodge, Fromberg, all that country from Livingston east. If you saw it, I mean, it's brutal. There's so much property damage, so many lives that are disrupted that there will be a fundraiser for that at the Total Archery Challenge in Big Sky. And if you're going to be there, I hope you pony up and throw some money in the hat to do that shoot. So what's the Idaho Super Tag? Oh, well, if you go to the Idaho Game and Fish website, they have these super tags. I think the first deadline was May 31st, and then there's another deadline sometime in August. If you draw the tag, you get to hunt any open season for whatever weapon type is open for that species. It's like, whoa. So my buddy Scott Jones from Washoe Valley, Nevada, drew one of the elk super tags this year in Idaho. And we're going to be there helping him because he's helped us so much. We're going to help him. So time to turn the tables a little bit here, repay some favors. So let's see. What terrain should you look for when hunting late season bulls in Idaho? Whatever terrain you walk up to and say, boy, I don't want to shoot one there, that's the terrain you should be looking for. Because in late season, they're going to be in late season mode, which is sanctuary, and sanctuary. They're going to be in bachelor groups, so they're going to be a little bit easier to find. They have a transition range that is, right up here by the summer range is where it starts, and they're going to move down that to the winter range. So your hunt is going to happen somewhere on that transition range. If it's a light winter, it's going to be in the upper half of that transition range. If it's an early winter, it's going to be in the lower half of that transition range. So find the places that create low hunting pressure. Maybe it's a public-private boundary. Maybe it's just nasty terrain, or maybe it's a long distance that you got to pack one out. There's a lot of things that create sanctuaries, and that's what you're looking for in a late season. So, let's see. Evan says, Randy, I'm from New York and I've only ever hunted whitetails. I really want to start hunting outside the state, especially for mule deer and pronghorn. What's the easiest way to get hunting in the Midwest? Okay. Mule deer and pronghorn, your best chances are going to be eastern Wyoming. I would say eastern Montana, but quite honestly, I used to love our deer hunting in Montana, but we've creamed it. We hunt deer with a rifle in the rut in Montana, and you can't do that and expect to have any age class. They don't do that in Wyoming. They don't do that in Colorado. So, in our pronghorn, we're on the northern tier of the pronghorn range. We're I think 3 or 4 winters past our last tough winter, so they're starting to come back up. So for pronghorn, I'd look to Wyoming first and then Montana. So. Someone says, I'm sure you are excited for your Doll sheep hunt where you are taking the winner of the Arizona Desert Bighorn Sheep Society in 2023. Yes, I am very excited for that. Andy won that. He's a huge volunteer for conservation. And this was last summer. We did a sweepstakes where they had these 2 sheep tags, 2 sheep hunts. And they came to me and said, hey, can you help us raise some money and will you film it? I'm like, yep, I'll buy my hunt. You guys buy a hunt for them and we'll bring Marcus with and film it. And Andy won it and they raised a pot full of money, which that's the whole idea behind it. I was more interested in them raising a bunch of money because Arizona, terrible bad drought. They were trucking water to all of these places where if you've ever seen Arizona and see how dry it is normally, it was even drier last year and the year before. So they had to bring water to all these artificial drinkers, they call them water tanks. And that costs a lot of money. So the fact that we were able to raise $100 and some thousand as part of that, I was pretty excited. So, says Randy, hello from Prince of Wales Island. When are you coming back on another Sitka blacktail hunt? That's a good question. I should do that more often, but I don't have it on the books anytime soon. Can you give us your take on Wyoming wanting to change their preference point system to a squared bonus point system? So if you're interested, folks, if you want to know what Wyoming is considering, go out to the Wyoming Wildlife Task Force, Google that, and they have a bunch of proposals out there that you can comment on right now. One of them is what this person says or points out is that they're considering changing the non-resident preference point system to squared bonus points. For me, it really doesn't matter what they do. I would rather that right now they give away 25% of their tags in a random draw. I wish that was 50% of the tags. It would give people a better chance of drawing, and those people will still buy points. So I don't know. You've heard me say it many times. I'm not a big fan of all these elaborate point schemes. They're just not good for hunting, I don't think. Hey Randy, I drew a Unit 15 New Mexico muzzleloader bull elk tag. Have you ever hunted it? I've not hunted Unit 15. I've hunted pretty much every unit around that, but not 15. But I'm sure you'll have a great hunt. It's really there's just such good hunting there, so you'll have a good time. Everett, hey, how you doing, Everett? Next hunt on the bucket list. I don't know. For this year, the bucket list hunt for me is Matthew drew. He burned maximum points in Wyoming, and maximum points, he had a 25% chance of drawing this late migration mule deer hunt, and he drew it. After this, on the 17th try, he finally drew this tag. So for me, that's probably my bucket list hunt of this year. Along with Uncle Larry, we're going down to help him for his Arizona elk tag. And Uncle Larry, he's 76. He's been, I don't know how many years of experimental chemo, and he's got really bad neuropathy in his feet from all that chemo. And he told me, he's like, this might be my last elk hunt. I better make her a good one, with a few colorful words in there. So I'm really, really looking forward to that one too. So let's see. I have 5 points for elk and pronghorn in Colorado. I think I'm going to try to use them next year. That'd be a good idea. I really don't see a big improvement in the hunting experience if I have 10 points. You're exactly right, Eric. For me, I don't know that I'll ever have more than 5 points for elk in Colorado. What it takes to improve your quote unquote quality of hunt is not 5 to 10 or 5 to 12 or 5 to 15. We're talking 5 to 25. So I just want to go hunting. Marcus Elliott, have you ever tired of putting in for moose tags in Idaho? Yes, I tired of it this year. I didn't apply for moose in Idaho this year for the first time in quite a while. And so I'm waiting impatiently for them to post their non-resident elk, deer, and pronghorn results. So I guess we'll see. Someone says, Randy, any advice for a brand new CPA? Yeah, if you're a CPA, get into the tax side of things, not the audit side, because tax season ends April 15th. And guess what? Then you get to go hunting and fishing. So yeah, go on the tax side. And you can live in any little small town you want to if you got your tax specialty. So Melissa says, hi, Randy. I'm from Moorhead, Minnesota. Do you know where that is? I sure do. Go Spuds, right? Have I ever had a problem with drawing too many tags for a season? No, there is no such thing. There's no such thing as too many tags. I mean, that's like saying you got too many guns. That doesn't work. That doesn't equate. No, never. I've had seasons where I've drawn a lot of tags, but it was never too many. Let's see. Your opinion in the best week or weeks to hunt Colorado this season? It depends on if you're hunting with a rifle or bow. If I had the bow tag, I'd be hunting the last week of September. If I had a rifle hunt, I'd try to go in the first rifle hunt, which is like October 12th through 16th, something like that. Have I ever hunted Western Colorado in the desert units? Yep, I have. It's fun. There's some great critters there. It just, you know, sometimes it's good. Usually it's good. But sometimes it's tough. But most years it's pretty good. What's the best bear advice you can give to someone who has 20 plus points in Wyoming and hates bears? So to have 20 plus points, you must be talking about moose or sheep, because the deer, elk, and antelope system has only been around for 16 years. So this year you can buy your 17th point. So what's the best advice? Either find a unit that doesn't have grizzly bears, or, you know, start getting more educated, informed, and comfortable around them, and go for it. So, I mean, I get this grizzly bear question so much, and I know I'm jinxing myself by saying this, because some year the odds are going to get stacked against me and I'm going to end up in an encounter. I'm not, I don't want to be that guy who ends up getting eaten by a bear, but I'm going to say this. I don't lose sleep over it. I'm cautious about it. I do what I need to do to try to be smart about it, but I don't let it ruin my hunt. So now watch. I'm going to get eaten by a bear and you're all going to say, Newberg, don't listen to him. So John from Billings, Montana, asked this question. It's one we answered before John got on here. I'd like to know your opinion on the recent population boom in Montana and how you think it will affect Montana in the long term. I think Montana and Idaho are undergoing crazy population increases, and the resource won't be able to sustain unlimited hunting pressure on general tags forever with that type of population increase. So I think as residents of Montana and Idaho, we're going to have to start getting ready for some restrictions on how long our seasons are, on how much time or how much access we have to unlimited general tags. I wish it was different, but you know what? I moved here 31 years ago. I was that guy 31 years ago that people were probably like, close the gate. What are these people doing moving in here? So I get it. What I don't like about it is I've been flipped off like 5 times already this month. Okay, I drive at a certain speed. I live 4 miles south of town, and I drive in the morning, and I'm drinking my coffee. And if you think that I'm going to go 70 miles an hour because you're on my butt, nope. That's when I take the cruise and I slowly tap it down. And these people, whoom, and they flip you off. And even if they have Montana plates, you look at their vehicle sticker, so-and-so from Lithia, whatever, in some out-of-state city. I hope I wasn't that kind of guy when I moved here. So, oh well. You don't need my rant and ramble on that. Morrison asked, when's the last time I hunted in Colorado or in California? That would have been in 1985. I went pheasant and duck hunting there. Do black bears tend to den in the same location every year? Some of them do. Some of them have been recorded to use the same den year after year after year. Rut Junkie asks, do you have an opinion on the wilderness guide law in Wyoming? Yeah, I think it's stupid. I mean, think about this, okay? The Absaroka Beartooth Wilderness is right on the Montana-Idaho or Montana-Wyoming boundary. So over here in Montana, I don't need a guide because they say it's for safety. So say I had a tag that was good. I had a tag for Wyoming and a tag for Montana. Over here, I don't need a guide because, well, you're a Montana resident. You don't need someone to hold your hand. But as quick as I step 1 foot over here to hunt my Wyoming tag, now I'm a novice, greenhorn, and I need someone to hold my hand. Completely a business diversion legislation for the Wyoming outfitters. That's all it is. Everybody knows that. The outfitters in Wyoming know that. But there are a bunch of Wyoming residents who also like that law because it keeps non-residents from hunting wilderness areas. I think it's BS. You can't have a discussion about that without laughing out loud. When you tell somebody who supports it, like, oh, you just support it for your own personal reasons, right? They start laughing out loud, like, yeah, okay, yeah. So I've ever thought about a caribou hunt in Greenland. I've read about some of those. I've thought about it, but I doubt that it'll happen. So Jordan and Hannah say it has to be tough losing Dale from the crew. What are tips going on hunts with new people to make it fun and enjoyable? Yeah, Dale's wife is a school teacher. I believe they're moving to Billings, is what he told me. We don't like losing our crew. We to Dale's credit, when he got the job 3 years ago, we put a help wanted thing on Facebook and Instagram. I got 265 applicants, and Dale was the one picked out of that. So to his credit, and obviously he's got talent, and we don't want to lose him, but I understand how expensive Bozeman is, and trying to live here is tough. So he's making the right decision for him and his family. But to your point of what are tips to go on hunts with new people to make it fun and enjoyable, be fun and enjoyable yourself. Okay, smiling, being happy, being upbeat, that is contagious. As quick as somebody starts getting a bad case of the sourpuss, that's contagious also. So select good people and just try to be as upbeat as you possibly can. So David says, my wife still doesn't believe I talked to you last season. Can you say hi to Vanessa? Vanessa, how you doing? What do you mean, Vanessa? You don't believe that David talked to me? It's not like I'm some ghost, some mystery person out here or something. What are the rules when hunting under power lines in Montana? I don't know that there were any special rules. I know you don't want to shoot any of the power lines or any of the towers. So I don't. I'm sorry, I don't have an answer to that question. Someone asked Randy, did you draw any tags for Montana? Nope. This year, I had a different approach this year. So, last year I drew mountain goat and moose in Montana. I said, you know what? This year, I'm going to do more general tags. So I have an Idaho whitetail tag I bought over the counter. I'm going to do my Montana over the counter general deer tag, general elk. I have a general elk tag in Wyoming. And maybe I'll pick up one of these leftover tags. The 3 tags I applied for in Idaho for deer, elk, and antelope are pretty easy to draw. So I did. In the other states, I really swung for the fences. It's like, all right, since I know I'm going to do most of this over the counter, just general hunting, I'll apply in Nevada, Utah, everywhere else for just really, really hard to draw hunts. So I didn't really expect to draw much this year. So it's what it is. Some years it happens. Some years it's like, so. Let's see. If you could give the 25-year-old Randy Newberg a piece of advice, what would it be? Oh, I tell you what this would be. So, let me do the math. Yeah, I got married when I was 24, and I almost blew it. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she says, she's a couple of years older than me, and she one day says, you in this for a serious relationship, or just some sort of casual hangout, be friends kind of thing. And here's how dumb I was. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I got to think about that. Well, I was without a girlfriend for about 6 weeks after a stupid answer like that. So what would I have done when I was 24 or 25? I would have got a lot smarter about assessing the situation. And I mean, think about how dumb this is. I ended up marrying this unbelievable woman. We've been married for 33 years. She lets me hunt and fish almost without any restrictions, doesn't complain about what the budget is for hunting and fishing, as long as she gets to do her thing. And I was dumb enough to be scratching my head when I was 24, 25 years old, like, I don't know. Oh boy, I dodged a bullet. I had the best fish on the line I could ever get, and I almost let it off the line. Man. But other than that advice, the same advice I'd give someone who's 35, 45, or 55. Hunt when you can, because you're going to run out of health before you run out of money. And that doesn't mean go be irresponsible, but don't put things off. There is no tomorrow. Okay. John Denver says tomorrow is just one of yesterday's dreams. I got a bum liver. For a couple years, I didn't think I was going to get to hunt again. If you would have asked me in 2003 and 4, if I thought I was going to have some sort of hunting future in front of me, as bad as my liver was and all the doctoring I was doing, I was like, man, my hunting might be over or worse. As quick as I started slowly recovering, I still remember saying to myself, I am not taking my health for granted again. I am going hunting every chance I get, within the bounds of reasonableness. But if there's a doubt of should I or should I not, I'm going hunting. So Raghorn says, hey, how did your bear hunt go? I thought I saw you at Inga's Galley near the Scandia house in Petersburg. You probably saw me there with my brother and Jace, the camera guy, and we were there for my niece, Jordan. But you'll see it. I made a mistake. I went to a place I'd never hunted before, and the wind just smashed into the island, on the rocks. So we saw 15 bears over the course of our hunt, and only 3 times were we able to find a spot where we could beach the boat without destroying it. So I should have went to the old stomping grounds, but you try to make a few changes, and things end up not going well. But we got a bunch more questions here we're going to get to, but for those of you just joining or who have joined since we did the intro, want to make sure you know that there are 2 groups that make these live events possible. Our good friends at Go Hunt and their Explorer mapping system. If you go there and sign up for Explorer, you're going to get all 50 states for $49.99, and you're going to get all the terrain tools, all the stuff we use for e-scouting. And by using promo code Randy, you're going to get $20 of credit in their gear shop. And then last week, you probably saw that a bunch of us were doing classes for this platform called Outdoor Class. It's kind of like master class type learning platform for hunting. My buddy Corey Jacobson, me, Remy Warren, Jamie Teagan. It's all out there right now. If you go to masterclass.com and sign up using promo code Randy, they're going to give you 20% off. So anyhow, let's see. Are you taking Mac, your llama, on many hunts this year? Mac, Quigley, Pancake. I'm hoping Bo will let me take Pancake. I got to take Pancake last year. The Mac and Quigley are my 2 main dudes right now. Pancake was in on one last year, but yeah, this year I've got quite a few hunts planned that are going to be llama centric hunts. So I'm excited to do that. One of them is with Bo. So when Bo does a party app with you and you draw a tag, you have no idea how many llamas he's going to bring. It's just, well, if you got many hundreds of llamas, I guess you bring some. So, all right. Randy, any Nevada tags this year? Nope. Did you try in the second draw for deer? Nope, I didn't. Garrett asked, does Fresh Track Screw have any plans in Colorado this year? Yep. Marcus has a deer tag there. He'll be down there in November. Let's see. Do we have any other Colorado things planned this year? I don't know. So someone says, Randy, I'm looking to buy a lightweight rifle, and with so many out there, what's your recommendation? Probably the one I work on with Howa, or Howa has a super light now. And when you're choosing one of these super light rifles, make a decision about what cartridge it is chambered in, because you get a 4.5, 4 pound, 10 ounce, 5 pound rifle in a long action or big cartridge, it's going to knock the heck out of you. So that's why all the lightweights and super lightweights I have are either a 308 or a 7mm 08. They're very modest in terms of recoil because they're short action. So that's what I'd suggest. Go check Howa. They got a super lightweight, and then they have our Randy Newberg series that is a little bit lighter weight. In Wisconsin, whitetail hunts in the schedule, Mike, I wish there were, but they're not. Mike, who asked that question, he's filmed me a lot. So I owe you a text, Mike. You and about 300 other people. So let's see what else we got here. Someone has a question about mountain mule deer. For me to answer that would be a fake. I am not a good mule deer hunter. I go out there and I try it, but call my buddy Brady Miller at Go Hunt, or call Remy Warren. Those guys know it. I don't want to be that guy who acts like I know what I'm talking about when I don't, because I don't. So Dylan says, I've got a tag for New Mexico Unit 45, where they are currently firing the biggest recorded fire in New Mexico. How far will a major fire push out? It'll push them just over to where it isn't burning. They're not going to say, oh, I got to go 50 miles away. No, if it's burning and it's right here, they'll move a mile or two. Whatever they got to do to get out of the way of the fire, that's all the further they're going to move. They're not like us who, go down to U-Haul, get the Mayflower van, whatever, and pack up and move. They just don't have that opportunity. Someone says, I 100% agree with your hunt now because there might not be a tomorrow. My 74-year-old buddy John went from healthy to gone in 2 months. Dang, sorry to hear that. So yeah, hunt now, he says in quotes. Next season might not get here. So that is the advice that I would give a 25-year-old. Let's see. Mike says, I always had elk hunting on my bucket list. Unfortunately, I suffered a heart attack 5 years ago. Doctor says I'd have to hunt no more than 6,000 feet, if that's even possible. If so, when and where? Possibly some areas of western New Mexico, possibly some areas of eastern Montana or eastern Wyoming. Where else? Northern Idaho, some parts of Oregon. So yeah, man, that's sorry to hear that, but there are some places. All right, what else we got? Have I ever hunted Unit 18 in New Mexico? I have not. Patrick asks, how do you avoid getting frozen by the changes in thermals? Let's say you have elk down below you in the drainage at first light with the thermals going downhill, which they do. But then they're about to change and the thermals are about to go uphill. I'll wait them out. I'll stay within some hearing distance or visual distance until I get a steady thermal. An absolute steady thermal that happens about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. You start getting a thermal that you can rely upon. So that's how I try to avoid getting trapped in that. But there are times when I still get trapped in that. Chase asks, do you bring anything extra for your feet in your medical kit, or is everything you need in the adventure medical kit? No, I bring these little bubbles. They're like oval shaped little new skin type bubbles. I use them for potential blisters or hotspots. And if you listen to the podcast I did last summer with my buddy, Dr. Bill Wilshire, he's a podiatrist, we really get into the topic of foot care and blisters. And for me, I'm taking his advice. You know what? If I start feeling a hot spot, duct tape. Right? Duct tape's really smooth. You aren't going to get any friction, nothing like that. You're going to have way better results. So prevent it from happening is the best thing you can possibly do. Oh, let's see. Kurt says, as a non-resident, is it worth checking southwest Montana for mule deer on my way to hunt the Bitterroot Valley? I mean, if you're coming through, you can check it, but I'm just going to tell you, our mule deer hunting in southwest Montana, it's in the crapper. I think about what it was when I moved here 30 some years ago. It was pretty darn good. And we just continue to hammer mule deer in the rut here in Montana. So they don't get any age class. And actually the doe to or the buck to doe ratios are not what you would find in a lot of other states. Let's see. See if we got any more. Sean says, Randy, I'm trying to find a meat hunt. I have a pretty packed schedule and I have November to hunt. According to Go Hunt, Colorado over the counter is an elk option. Yep, go do it. That's exactly what I would do. And there's a bunch of cow tags there. And if it's a meat hunt, I would go there and get one of those leftover cow tags that are on their leftover list right now. And I'd go there and, you look at Colorado and they have 265 to 280,000 elk. And those are in the western half of the state. So the elk densities compared to any other state is really, really high. So being able to find a cow elk there is probably easier than most other places that you would consider for a, as you said, meat hunt. So, Mark says, Randy, any giveaways coming up? Oh yeah, lots of giveaways coming up. This November, we'll be doing the Win a Hunt with Randy sweepstakes that RMEF, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, always puts on. And right now, if you want to get into a big gear giveaway, my buddy Corey Jacobson today launched his University of Elk Hunting 10 Days of June gear giveaway. I think he's giving away $12,000 a gear. So if you go out to elk101.com and sign up there, use promo code Randy and you'll get 20% off, I think it is, or $20 off. But you can get a free entry out there. There's how you go through it. But if you sign up to be a member of his university course, you get a lot more entries in the gear drawing. And then he's having a bunch of other promos this year. We're Matthew and Jace and the rest of our crew, we're working on a big promo. I think it's going to start August 1st for our Fresh Tracks Plus platform. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of them. Jared says, any thoughts on the Nebraska elk depredation issue that was announced yesterday? You know what? It's hard to, those areas, elk have been out of those areas for 150 years. And I have seen what elk can do when they get in a cornfield. It's a disaster. So I don't really have the answer because I'm not that familiar with the nuances of the issue. But in a heavy, intense agriculture country like that, you're going to have a lot of conflicts between elk and agriculture. And, it's all private land. So I don't know, could they go in there and do like Nevada and have a drawing for the depredation? Or, I think Nevada is just going to rely mostly on landowners and whoever the landowner selects. It's controversial, but that's just how it is when elk get into those places. Oh, here's one. And if you saw, every week, Marcus Hockett here does a thing on our thing, Fresh Tracks, called Fresh Tracks Weekly. So he puts it out on YouTube. He puts it out on Fresh Tracks Plus. And this question came up. There's a small group of non-resident landowners that have formed. They fund this organization. It's kind of a front organization, and that organization is suing Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. And here's the just the can't even be serious about it uh, rationale. They say there are too many elk in these areas of Montana, but we don't have any access to the ranches owned by these out of state billionaires. That's why I call it bulls for billionaires. And they want to pitch the idea that if we kill more bull elk, that's going to solve the problem. So that's what their point of or their end goal is. We need more bull elk tags. We don't want to have to stand in line with all the peasants and have to draw a tag. We want our own tags. And so they've got their little front group suing Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. Well, the resident hunter is like, if you got too many elk, you shoot cow elk, first of all. And second of all, if you don't allow access, that's fine. It's your property. But how the hell do you think we're going to kill any elk if we don't have access to them? So it's a facade. It's a dog and pony show. That's what I think about that lawsuit. But you know what? It's the world we live in today, right? So I I don't know how else to say it. It just is what it is. Most versatile optics for Western hunting, 10 power binoculars, 10 by 42. You can put them on a tripod or brace them on your spotting scope. And at 10 power, you can still do a lot of glassing, but yet they're also good enough that you can hand hold them. You get to a 15 power and you're hand holding, if you got even the slightest shake, not good. So I use Leupold BX5s, 10 by 42s. So what else we got? Someone says, if you want to see crowds, come to Utah. Let's see. Favorite thing to hunt? Whatever I have a tag for. If I only had 1 week to hunt Wyoming, would you take opening week or a later week? I'd either do the first week or the absolute last week of the season, regardless of whatever species it is. Have you ever hunted elk in Arizona Unit 9? Yes, I have. It can be a fun hunt. Hey, Jimmy from Alaska. Randy, how'd your Southeast Alaska bear hunt go? Oh, Ovis, I'm sorry to tell you. I was telling some people I messed it up. And I went to the wrong spot. And I'd never been there before. But anyhow, it looks like you and your buddies had a good time. Randy, do you do the gutless method for field dressing or the old-fashioned traditional gut 'em out method? I do the gutless method. I'm gonna have to make all those cuts when I get home, so I may as well just do it now. And so I do the gutless method even on pronghorn now. Let's see. Someone says I drew a Montana unit 380 mule deer buck tag. I heard it's hard to find nice mule deer in that area. I would agree with whoever told you that. So I hope you have a fun hunt. But someone shot you straight there when they said it's tough to find a big buck there. What do I think happened to Montana's southwest Montana mule deer population? What do I think happened to southwest mule deer population? So I don't know if he means southwest Montana or the southwestern states. I think with every mule deer decline, it's mostly habitat. There's some predation, but huge changes in habitat. Competition with invasive species of invasive horse species, but mostly invasive plant species. They create a fire cycle that burns their winter range. Southwest Montana, the problem is we have too many predators that are driving Ford F-150s and Chevy Silverados in November. We just shoot the tar out of them. So have I ever hunted Australia? No, I haven't. I've been invited to go do that. Why does your buddy Brady keep such a tight lip about his units and areas that he hunts for mule deer? Just like everybody. I don't give people unit numbers. I try to tell them how to go and find their own place. So I don't blame Brady for, you know, I just like I don't blame Remy. I don't blame Corey. I don't blame anybody for not saying, "Oh yeah, right here's my waypoint." I mean, you think about it, if you shared that information, you'd have to bring your own rock to stand on. And so why? That's why. Someone says, "Do you know what states and how much money is spent by the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation?" Yeah, they have it out there on their website. They have a report every year. They have a State of the Union type report, uh, and it's they spend millions and millions and millions of dollars. I think about the fact that they just surpassed 1.4 million acres of new or improved public access. You don't do that by having a bake sale. That takes money. Them and their partners have done that. They've conserved and enhanced or protected, I think it's getting close to 7 million acres of habitat. In other words, improved it by weed control, thinning, burns, whatever. And they do this with partners. They combine money and they get a ton of good work done. So, any idea when Arizona deer and sheep results will be out? I have no idea. I put in for such long odds. I'm not even. It's not even on my mind. I'm not going to draw. I know that. So, what are my thoughts about packable waders for creek crossings? I don't bring them. What I do is I take my Canatrek gaiters and I cinch them down really tight. And if I go really quick, I don't get wet. So anyhow, trying to think what else we got here. We're over what I told the crew we would be at. So hopefully everyone got a little bit of benefit out of this. Just remember, this Elk Talk Live stuff that we're doing this summer is brought to you by Outdoor Class and the Go Hunt Explorer mapping system. Go there, use promo code Randy, and you're going to save some money. You won't have to pay full retail. So outdoorclass.com, gohunt.com. Go there, sign up. And thanks for being here tonight. We had a really good turnout, a lot of great questions. Appreciate all you being here. And have a great week. We'll see you again next week.